Hey, shoot us a little camera four. What are you saying, John? Yeah, see, cut daisies and unicorns, Phil and Steve edition. Well, slight fuzz, huh? All right, all right.
Yeah, it's on me for a second. All right, we got a couple of people online.
All right, that's good. Why don't you go ahead and give Phil get a shot to Phil, and I'm gonna bring him into focus and everything going on. And Caitlin just walked in the door with food, so apparently we're eating. But I'm gonna do a couple things here.
All right, so welcome to Cut Daisies and Unicorns, everybody. This is a live show. This is good stuff right here. Because live always means that there's going to be things that are out of the normal. And so even tonight, it's going to be out of the normal.
Warn them about lightning. It's going to get really bright for a second here.
It's going to get bright. Hold on, everybody. It's going to get bright. Hold there.
How's that look?
John, what do we got?
How's that?
Hey, so I got some comments. All right, so hey, Steve's mom's watching. Hey, Marilyn, how you doing? It's my favorite Kobold.
Of course it is. It always is. All right.
And Michaela's on here.
That means Adam might be in the room.
So Michaela, is Adam in the room? I'm going to turn off that sound so you don't have double. I'm trying to monitor. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, we got, of course, this is the first of many live that we're going to go to. And so we're working out the bugs now, so it's only going to get better. Right, Steve? It's only going to get better. It's like a guarantee. You know, there's some of the guarantees on Cut Daisies and Unicorns, and part of the guarantees are like Steve's not going to dance. And the other guarantees is that we're always on a live show going to run into issues. Oh, Steve, your aunt is on too.
My Aunt Linda.
Yes. Oh, Adam's at a friend's and missing the live. He's going to be extremely disappointed, Michaela says. Yeah, especially when Adam commented on a YouTube saying that he wanted to be a co-guest host, so he really should be disappointed. That's what I know. All right, so we are we're getting up and running.
And we're back.
And now look at us. We got two at the table finally.
I tell you what, that's the last thing that you ever want to do is you got blinking red lights and you got all this stuff put in the special places, and then you're thinking, you know, this is not enjoyable right now.
This is I think it's going to get enjoyable.
Oh, I'm planning on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get there.
Yeah, and I'd like to go ahead and get myself interfaced here
Right.
with everybody. Apparently I brought in a napkin just so that I could wipe my hands. There we go. I see us.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that too. I'm going to cancel my volume button. That way we don't get, we got people going all over the place. It's like, what's going on here? I don't know. Can I plug this in? I don't know. I got 99%, so I'm good to go.
I was just going to plug my phone in since
Oh.
I'm going to see the comments from there. You can see the comments from there. But I've got cut daisies on the other one.
Oh, sweet. I'm going to live screen right now. That's what I'm doing. All right, got to get my posture all set.
Oh, all right.
Woo! Look right in the camera.
There you are, Steve.
I see.
You're right on live.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, my computer's not acting really smart,
Uh-oh.
which means it's acting dumb. There we go. There we go. We got to remember the 10-second delay.
We do.
Yeah. So you're going to be able to, right into the camera. See, I get to see myself in replay is what's actually happening right now.
You do.
And
It is the lovely thing, isn't it? With live. They always like to have the delay. Do you know why they have the delay?
well, so that when I'm using foul language, we can bleep it out.
That's the reason.
No, that's
At least
not.
on
That's
on network TV.
Yeah, that's not the reason, really. That's not the reason of what's really going on.
It's not the reason why Facebook does it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm telling you, it takes a while. Got to get the beard all formed up. There we go. It takes a while for the interwebs to be able to compress the signal and do all that stuff the way it's supposed to go on. And yep, that was me taking a big sniff. Boy, all the professionalism that's
Yeah.
supposed to happen,
Uh-huh.
it's really hard. This is really hard.
So Steve, is your wife on? Is she gonna be able to watch?
You know, Amy doesn't have Facebook.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yep.
I'm like, uh-oh.
She's anti-social media.
Yeah.
As an introvert, she's pretty much anti-social. I mean, like, she has to work with people and she deals with people, but I mean, yeah,
Is my wife on yet?
nope.
You
I
haven't
don't-
seen her?
Well, she hasn't said hello.
Hey, Heather, if you're on, say hello. Now we have to wait 10 seconds in order for her to respond. No.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wait. We'll wait. No. So, Steve.
Phil,
Whew.
we need a deep breath.
We've been working for a little bit, trying
Yeah.
to make sure. I think that this looks great, though.
You know what I never planned on green, though.
Oh, what were you going to go with?
A unicorn color.
Oh.
And so, how we doing? Is everybody there?
We got 5.
Where do you tell that? How can you tell?
Well, I see it right on the corner of the thing. It says live, and then there's a number right next to it.
Yeah, there we go.
And there you go.
Right on. Yeah. You know, when you're dealing with a really old unicorn, he doesn't always know the little tricks.
So can you teach a old unicorn new tricks?
You know, for all the things that a unicorn does in its life,
Uh-huh.
I mean, all the tricks are good tricks.
Hmm.
Why do you need new ones?
She said, what color is a unicorn? And that's what I was asking, too. Teal would be a great unicorn color.
Yeah, thanks, Michaela. I figured pink or teal or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
some pastels.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah. So John, you could even out there as the engineer, mess with the color of the lights. Do you know how to do that? No. It's that far board over there. So if you want to mess with the color of the lights, you're welcome to. But
or if you do a close-up shot to Phil and he can have great heartfelt conversations with the 5 people, yeah, right there. I'll make this unicorn colors.
all right, so we're gonna get a unicorn color, and I think So
there you go.
We got some color. We
You
got some
blue.
color
now,
here.
Now add a little red. There.
That's a pink. That's a fuchsia, isn't it?
Mhm.
I'm not even good with like anything other than the primary colors. So,
Are you colorblind?
well, no, I'm not colorblind, but I really don't know the intricacies of the individual like variations of a color. So this is what's going to happen tonight is that we're going to try to get you to answer some questions or at least ask some questions. So right now we've got red on the screen, but we want to be able to also focus on what's coming up in the next 10 episodes. So if you caught the last episode, or episode number 10, we talked about what we'd like to do in the coming. So we're looking at doing 10 episode chunks. And so we want to talk about what kind of things we want to see in the next 10 episodes. So we've gone over a wide variety of topics, and that was intentional. So it was intentional to be able to cover all kinds of different areas. So what we're trying to ask of you, like, hey, so what were the things? Are there things that you'd like us to dig deeper on? Are there things that you'd like us to be able to consider outside of that, things that you're like, oh, this is what I would really love to hear from Phil and Steve. And I think that's what we're trying to be able to dig into. So, yeah, so yeah, this is kind of teal, huh?
It's cayenne.
Oh,
Not like the pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the color.
So, we got a deep blue there.
That just changed.
Now we're black.
Fade to black.
We got a rising white.
Yep.
So Steve, I'll ask you a question while we're dealing with the lights.
Yeah.
What was your favorite conversation in this first 10 episodes that we did? What was your favorite part?
Well, my thoughts on that whole deal, as far as like looking for, you asked me a specific question, so I'll try not to.
It's hard to answer specifics.
Well, I'm just taking a moment to go to the playlist and the videos and take a look real quick, and be able. I know that one of the things that was just incredibly crazy was the one that we had where we did our Fringe episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's so outlandish that it just seemed to be a lot of fun. So I really like the Fringe one. And I think I also like the ones where we deal with like practices, like motion and stillness. That thing just wasn't even planned and it came out. I think motion and stillness is one of my favorites too, like on that. And then as far as interviews, I mean, how do you pick? Because I mean, they're any additional person that we have on the podcast, it's fantastic to be able to do that. That's the politically correct answer.
So it's always the last guest is the greatest guest.
Well, I'm telling you, Clem just really showed up in an incredible way, and so how she wore just her own humanity and with what she brought to the table. I think what I really enjoyed about it too is she was our second female interview, and with the month being International Women's Heritage, it was just a great voice. I mean, and so Rossana Rodriguez, I mean, again, another great voice, and not to diminish the white male voices that show up every week, like
Right.
you and I. I mean, you know, and then there's the juxtaposition is I like to do the interviews, and then I just like us to get crazy with it.
Or weird.
Yeah. Let's just get
I
weird
really
with it.
liked having John on the show, even because he always talks about I shouldn't be on the mic. No, sometimes John, you should be on the mic. There's lots of people that like to hear from John, like Heather. Heather loves to hear from John.
Yep. Hey, John, Heather was asking if there's a way to turn the volume up. So could you push the up button and see how far we can go without making floor noise happen? And see if we can get more volume out there for our listeners. Push that up into right there. Hey,
There we
Heather,
go.
that should reach you a little bit better.
Try that. Heather, do you hear it fine now? Everybody else, you want to pipe in?
Yeah.
Tell us.
But-
do you hear us?
And Heather says she loved John's interview. So yeah, it's great.
All right. She's much better. Yeah, baby.
Is that what she calls you?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, baby.
Heather, do you call me baby? Caitlin says perfect. Caitlin, what was your favorite? I'm trying to like make sure that, you know, because I was making sure that she was even listening. She went back and I had her listen to John's episode when that
Nice.
first came out.
Nice.
So, yeah. Babe. All right. Where are we gonna go to next, Steve? So I was just mentioning to them that
Yeah.
we were gonna do, you know, just asking a lot of the where do we want to go, and but I also feel like we should ask the question, where should we go tonight? Because this is a live, and maybe some of these people out here want to ask us some questions that they want us to like talk about.
That's what I'd love to open it up
Okay.
to. I would love for people to be able to say, hey, maybe they have a lingering question in their mind that they would love to ask Phil and Steve, and they're like, you know, if I ever got a chance to do that, you know, that'd be great. Caitlin, I liked Fringe, I think. IDK.
Colors, shapes, and numbers. She's speaking in code right now.
Really?
Yeah, so we were, so Chris Fordyce, I don't know if he's on here yet, but if Chris is on here, he reached out after our Fringe episode,
Yeah.
and he was talking about a couple of shows that, because I mentioned Heather really loves, you know, aliens and all kinds of, you know, freaky stuff.
Heather is a major fan of The Fringe.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, she was like super excited when we went with the unicorn theme in the title, and just was like,
Yeah,
I mean, she had a list for us of
Uh-huh.
things that we should consider,
right.
which
On
we
the
appreciate.
Fringe, and it was all Fringe.
We appreciate it.
All Fringe stuff. And so Chris reached out and told us to watch a show on Amazon Prime called Hellier. Now, Hellier is and Heather was probably watching it without me at home, because that's what she was watching when I left. But they were talking, they were trying to communicate with these aliens, and they said the aliens communicate in color and in numbers and in pictures. So they're because they don't know the code. They don't always know the language of people, of humans, human beings. So they're all like speaking in colors, and so it is interesting. I mean, it gets into some pretty weird stuff too. Numerology and like numbers mean things.
I've
and
been
math.
accused.
Like I don't even know what they're talking about.
I've been accused of being a numerologist.
Oh, really?
Numbers really matter to me a lot, like, and so this is perfect because it sets me up as a person that could actually interact with aliens pretty readily.
Yeah,
I like shapes.
you do.
I like colors. I like to make up colors. I like to mix colors. I mean, like colors matter a lot,
Right.
and I love numbers.
I feel like you would communicate then well.
So where's my first encounter of the third kind?
So this is what maybe we should set up at some point. They had these things. They called them what was it, like a god helmet. Ultimately, it was right. That's what it's called. I don't know. It was on the show. That's all I know.
Makes me think of umbrellas and birth control. Great.
Base and whatever they want to call it is fine, but here's what it was. It was basically a sensory deprivation. So it's keeping your eyes closed, it's keeping your headphones on, so you got noise canceling, and you're then speaking the things that you see, or you see in your head, like the images that come across and whatever it might be. And ultimately, and then usually have some kind. I mean, the way that they had it set up in the one was like, one was kind of like the antenna, and the other one was kind of the one that was going to be the mouthpiece. It was weird.
But this goes back to our conversation in regards to why some people see angels and other people don't see angels. When we talked about you have to have the right receiver and you have to have the right transmitter.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why, because I feel like you are good with numbers.
Well, but
So there's like a whole cipher thing that they're dealing with the numbers wise. But even like the shapes, colors, like I feel like Steve would be a perfect one to talk to the aliens. If that is the case that they speak in.
So since we
Shapes,
know that the
numbers,
FBI is already listening, and we know that the government's and we know Amazon's listening, Facebook is listening, obviously, because we're like broadcasting live to Facebook. So we know that all of the algorithms of whatever is going on here is being like calculated and computated.
Yes.
But with that, we could also say that if there is an antenna up, we are transmitting so that the opportunity to be able to interact with the aliens would work out.
It would. I mean, it should.
Yeah. I have a story about actually a time when I believe I saw an angel.
Ooh, this is gonna be good. Everybody, check out Steve's camera. There you go. Look at.
Well, I mean, just, I was at art camp and made an application to be able to go up to art camp, and so put a portfolio in. And I think until recently, my mom actually had the portfolio that I submitted, and then she gave it to me, and then I went through the drawings and stuff like that and kept the ones that I wanted and stuff. But went to art camp, was at art camp. I grew up in a really right-wing conservative fundamentalist is what I grew up in. Wow. And so we didn't dance, we didn't chew, we didn't go with the girls who do, although they're very interesting young ladies.
And it rhymes. So it's got to be true.
So that's the second time you said that today.
I know.
Yeah. April showers bring May flowers. It has to be true.
Right.
Yeah. And I got up to John just dying. So I got up to art camp, and there were, I mean, hundreds of kids from all over the state of Michigan at this art camp in Marquette, Michigan. And but they would have dances every night. And so then I'm like, speaking of a new fringe, I'm at this place where I'm like, well, they told me at church I shouldn't do this. But there were some ladies from Detroit that really had dance moves, and they took on, speaking of the things that you're going to be able to plan on, Steve, but they're like, oh, come on, we can teach you how to dance. Now, this was in the era where the worm was a really big deal. Breakdancing was a thing. I mean, like, there was lots of stuff going on. But there was a certain young lady that took my fancy. Yeah, and ended up hanging out with her. And then all of a sudden I heard a knock at the door.
Ooh.
And I opened up the door, and there was, I'm going to say, an angel.
At the door.
At the door.
And it knocked?
Well, it had to get my attention.
Okay.
I was paying more attention to the young lady.
Oh.
Yeah. So went to the door.
Makes
and
sense.
Angel's kind of like looking at me and saying, hey, is everything okay in there? And I said, yeah, everything's great. And the angel's like, you should probably go to bed now. I'm like, all right, thank you very much. That's my story, and I'm
So
sick.
did you?
Yeah,
Oh, so
I did.
All right.
I said goodnight to the young lady.
Ah,
She went on her way, and I went to bed.
that's crazy.
It is crazy.
So I wonder, you're not dancing now.
Oh, no.
Is that a repression?
What's that? Oh,
Oh, it's because it's connected to the computer. So take it out of the computer and put it in the hard drive. So we're going to miss some of it for
It's all right.
if we
All of the technical difficulties. Yeah. So that was a young man's kind of
Yeah,
experience.
so I was just, so were you terrified by the angel? I mean, I've got tons of questions about this now. Because you always find, like, the encounter with an angel, people are usually terrified. They're like, what is happening here? And I just wonder, like, so were you, one, scared? And then two, was your fundamentalist upbringing the reason why you don't dance now when it's repressed?
No, I actually, the reason why I don't dance now is because I've seen myself filmed dancing. And when I watch me, when have been filmed dancing on stage, like, and it's not even like fun dancing, it's more like
Did we ever find this video?
celebratory.
Because when did they film you dancing? And I really want to see that. So, Michaela or Marilyn, you got any videos of Steve dancing?
Hey John, go to Phil and oh, you got it? We're good. Now we're good. Never mind. Yeah. Well, so it was like, like month number 2 or month number 3 when I was at Gloria Day and we're in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we knew that everybody was working on their COVID-19 weight gain.
Ah.
And so I'm like, hey, everybody. Like when you come to church, then you have the liturgist or, the worship leader or whatever is telling you to stand up or don't stand up and, things like that. And with that going on, it's just one of those things where I'm like, all right, everybody, come on, get up and let's get moving and stuff. And so it was like the equivalent of a preschool dance class that I was leading during that time.
Okay. All right. So I'm wondering.
There's more.
Well, all right. So then go back to the angel. So were you then? Did that bring you any sense of fear that there was an angel at the door?
No, I wasn't afraid. Like it was just one of those things where, at that camp, I didn't know all the people, but I had been around a lot of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was around a lot of the people, like I had a general decent sense of what was going on. For all I know, it could have been some dude walked off the street and was just running through the campus of, Northern Michigan University, in Marquette or something like that. But it was kind of like the way, and maybe there was some dude walking down the street and he was just stoned.
Maybe.
Or I've always carried with me that I felt that it was an encounter with an angel.
Huh. No, I think it's fascinating though. That's real. I haven't heard this story before.
Oh, I've got more.
You're right.
I've got more stories that that just go into that.
Yeah, because so the reason, where I get my encounters with angels is from the Bible, right? So it's there, and it talks about when people encounter angels, there's the part of it that people are terrified, and I always talk about that, like when it talks about the angels in the biblical story where Jesus is being where he's going to be born. And the angels visit the shepherds, and it says that they were sore afraid.
Yeah. Sore meant they really.
It means, so like going back to the Greek and that whole thing.
So they had dirty pants.
It means that they physically were afraid. They physically showed it.
Oh, wow.
So that's where I get back to, and it's not uncommon that if you're seeing something, especially in a supernatural way, that you are terrified of what it is that you're seeing. And that's why I was asking.
Well, that might be one of the things that goes into the idea that maybe it wasn't an angel, but it was certainly an intervention.
Hey, Heather, what is my angel story? I have to ask, like, because I'm trying to even think, like, which angel story? Do you have another angel story?
Not another, no.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought you were saying I have like a ton of.
No,
of
you're like, I
stories.
haven't heard that story before. And what I'm saying is that, like, I've got lots of stories.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the opportunity for me, like, I don't have enough words to tell you all the stories of, it just, as they come up, then I just share.
Right.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. So I'm wondering how many people that would be listening. Would
Heather's
you
saying-
do? I mean,
Colonel Sanders or CR
oh, right. I remember.
with the guy that walked off the street.
I know what you're talking about now. All right. Yeah. So we were over at the other church,
Yeah.
and we were doing Celebrate Recovery, and I won't use names because Celebrate Recovery is still a 12-step program that is full of anonymity.
Yeah.
So no names, but there was a guy who walked in, and he was kind of you could tell he was why do I say this in the best way? So he had been living a rough life, like whether he was on the street or whatever. But he came in, he's like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And so he started talking to me about all kinds of stuff that not normal, like it's not a normal conversation. I mean, he was talking about things that were that happened to him, things that he was going through. But he then kind of finished with this story talking about, like, well, you never know the angels you're going to encounter. And I was like, well, that's a weird thing for you to be able to talk about. No, I'm good. So, like all of a sudden, then it was like I introduced him to the people who were present. And then it was just kind of this weird interaction, almost like there was a particular guy who I don't want to give like anything's away, but he was a rough guy that I don't know. He was an older guy, and this guy was like zeroed in on him. Whether it was like
The guy who walked in off the
the
street.
guy who walked down the street, he was like zeroed in on this guy, and he had been going up to him, and he was trying to engage with him. He was trying to be able to like say something towards him, and it was just kind of weird, and it was just this like it was the only time we ever saw him. It was the only experience, like this guy came in, kind of spoke these things, dropped in, like he hung out with us, and then it was like, boom, he was gone. And so that's what I like. So to me, there were some weird moments all throughout the conversation. The one guy wanted to fight him, but that's another part of it. But I think that's also the resistance, that sometimes we come into contact with things that we don't understand, and then we are already trying to push it away. So,
Yeah. And so, like, there was no repeat occurrence. That was one of the things that, it just seemed to be strange enough that I just had to consider that it was a physical manifestation of divine intervention.
right.
Yeah.
But I would also say that I was not terrified.
Yeah. See, you didn't shat yourself either.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. So whether or not, like, does it have to be, you have to have a physical manifestation of fear in order for it to be a real encounter with an angel? I don't think so. So I'm not trying to discount your story about the dude coming to the door and it could have been an angel. I don't know. I mean,
Oh, I
not
never
saying
get the feeling from you that you're discounting
Oh, no.
any of
Not at
my
all.
perceived reality.
Right.
No, never. Hey, gonna switch the topic though.
All right.
We had
What
a
do we-
question come up.
Okay.
Yeah, Caitlin asked the question of what do our beards smell like?
Oh, so we talked about this in an earlier episode, not necessarily the question, but you talked about the essence of Kobold.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
I really feel like that is something you should bottle.
Yeah. So my personal hygiene practices. Actually, I never really thought about how I took care of myself pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
But with the pandemic, it became a reality that I actually had to think about what the next step was going to be. Now, for a little bit of context,
Yeah.
just for people to be able to, cue in and be like, Kobo, what in the world are you talking about? And so at the time, I was at a church that had 5 services in a weekend, and we were, we had been doing live stream, but not to the extent of what we were asked to do based on the pandemic. And so with the pandemic, what was going on is, there was so much changing in our technology and so much demanded from it. I literally found myself several times frozen, standing in the middle of a room because I had so many things going through my head and so many decisions that needed to be made and so many points of action that needed to take place with so many people in regards to the multiple departments and everything that people wanted to do to stay in touch with people as they were, being shut into, this stay-at-home, not stay-at-home orders and all that stuff. So I literally came up with a protocol for every day. I promised myself that I would start my day by getting up. Now, that seems to be insignificant in the moment of me saying it, but it was a really significant choice. Instead of just curling up in a ball and saying, I think I'm going to melt. Yeah, implode. I mean, it was a real thing. Like for people who are like, oh yeah, I go through that all the time, whether it's depression or anxiety or, things like that. So, getting up and out of bed.
Yeah.
Secondly, take a shower daily. With a pandemic, you don't have to take a shower.
Nope.
You don't have to take a shower. You don't have to, John. You really don't have to. I mean, so I'd get going and rolling, and I wouldn't be necessarily in front of everyone. I could always throw in a stocking cap or whatever if I had to Zoom meeting and I'm like, no, there is a positive thing that happens physically, mentally, in a whole health.
Yeah.
Take a shower. Well, it's in that shower, I'm not even, as far as like the process of,
Yeah.
that one of the things that I do, not only do I comb my hair and I comb out my beard, I apply the hair product that I use in my hair, which is different than the product that I use in my beard.
True.
And for people who really want to know, there is I don't know, it's kind of like a matte cream that I put in my hair to be able to style the hair and do the foo like I do the foo.
Yeah.
And then TD Clay, because we're totally going to be able to put this where people can go and buy TD Clay for their beards.
Affiliate marketing.
Affiliate marketing is happening right now. And so with that, then I take TD Clay, and it feels like a wax kind of compound and whatever. And so I use that to be able to shape the beard. And by shaping the beard, then one of the things, I used to buy cologne. this is another. Can I rabbit trail again? I'm
Sure.
getting so happy about rabbit trailing.
I know.
So,
It's good.
so I was in Walgreens the other day getting my heart medication because I have high blood pressure, lisinopril, 20 milligram, and I don't think anybody can come and kill me by me giving that personal information out. But I was in at Walgreens, and when I was in at Walgreens, I took a turn to my left as I was standing 6 feet away from the people who were going to get shots and the other person who was going to get her other medications, and I saw that they had colognes and perfumes. I haven't worn cologne and perfume for 12 years,
Yeah.
but I do have an essence that I apply,
Mm.
and now we get to it.
And here's the secret.
So I use essential oils mixed with jojoba oil or jojoba oil, or hey, if anybody wants to correct me on the pronunciation of what's going on, then that would be great. But it's a carrier. Much like I'm a carrier to become the receiver of the aliens who want to communicate.
The little green men.
They can be blue too.
Sure, I don't even know. I just always
We're
hear
talking
green.
colors right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I take that, and then I have two major fragrances in the essential oils, and it's frankincense and patchouli.
Mm-hmm.
Patchouli is super, super strong, like in a oil, like kind of thing. But frankincense is super expensive,
Yeah.
and so little baby Jesus understands that when
6 pound, 8 ounce. Baby Jesus.
yeah, because you got to shake and bake, baby.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so and I'm not going to tell you the Koval Essence
You can't give all the secrets.
recipe.
Right.
It's a recipe.
Yeah.
You got to cook it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the, when I talk about, my routine is very similar. So when
You get up every day?
I do wake up.
Actually, you're
I like to shower.
You're adventurous.
Right. I mean, I don't know how adventurous, but I do like to go
You
to
go
the gym in the morning.
You go work out.
I do.
That's more than I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't always. I mean, I'm still quite a bit round for looking like I work out 6 out of 7 days a week, but but I feel like my guns are, like they're pretty solid. I don't know.
You're feeling good about that.
Well, I feel like I feel like I'm like
You're beefy?
anything other than my midsection
Yeah.
is pretty like I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would say the main kind of essence of what I put is like sandalwood. Like sandalwood is like in most of my either oil or conditioner shampoo.
Yeah.
And sandalwood is a big scent within there. And I don't mind frankincense because I like frankincense because it also comes in a lot of the essence.
Yeah.
But so it doesn't smell like French fries. So that's what. So that some people talk about beard smelling like French fries because it's oily and no, actually when you have a beard you got to take care of it.
Oh,
So there's some people who look like like they think a beard is carries all kinds of like bacteria. I don't think mine does because I wash it. I put oil in it. I put conditioner, shampoo. Not every day conditioner and shampoo.
well,
but-
you can't. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, because ultimately, people who don't have beards, what they need to be able to come into and understand about beard care is that ultimately what you're doing is you're taking care of your skin underneath your beard. And so, like, that's the thing. If you use shampoo, and it's a clarifying shampoo, and by the way, Caitlin did say it's jojoba oil.
There you go.
It's spelled with J's, and so I wanted to call it jojoba oil, and that takes me to Jabba the Hutt, which again,
Star Wars reference, everybody.
We need to get into some Star Wars eventually.
Probably, right?
But so in the jojoba oil, then I have my recipe. But what we're doing is we're taking care of the skin underneath the beard, because you don't want ingrown hairs. You don't want it to be too oily. You don't want it, like, I can't oil up my. There's people who take like beard oil, and do you do beard oil?
I do some beard oil.
Yeah. See,
Not every day though.
my essence, I don't put in the beard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but definitely as I shampoo my hair, I take my shampoo haired hands and take it through. But see, I've got that TD clay that's in my beard.
Right.
So at least once or twice a week, the beard gets a deep clean. And then, but I'm always working on exfoliation.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's the skin.
So that's the kind of manscaping that I'm talking about. It's not about trimmers. It's about taking care of skin.
Right.
And so, oh, and Michaela, you're right. Girls don't even wash their hair every day, so no need to wash your beard every day. You know, gotta love that. And I know there's dry shampoo.
no one
Have you
ever-
ever tried this dry shampoo thing?
Well, so Heather has all kinds of. She had dry shampoo, and I've never used it on my beard though.
On your hair, though?
I haven't used it on my hair. I haven't used it at all, I guess.
That's the point I was making.
Right. No. So you use dry shampoo for your beard?
No.
Oh, just for your hair.
No, but I heard about the product.
All right, yeah.
I totally heard about. Oh my gosh, another Beardo just joined us, or has been on here with
Hey,
us.
What's up, Nick?
Nick Prenger. Yes, good to see you, man. Make it silky smooth. Well, you know, please don't use it on your beards. Okay, well, I'm not even going to use it on my head.
That's me either. I'm gonna let that kind of just. I'm gonna let Heather and Caitlin, if you use it, I don't know.
Well,
Caitlin's
I mean,
a hair professional now, so
yeah, and so, but the other thing is like you got this. The first person I ever heard about doing dry shampoo was the lady who cut my hair in Des Moines, and she has really long hair. Michaela has long hair as well, and so like I understand that, you know, you got long hair and it might give you dandruff. See, that's exactly.
yeah. I don't want dandruff in my beard.
Or period.
I don't either.
I'm hairy enough all over. I don't want dandruff anywhere.
See, that's the things we have in common.
Yeah.
Friends, family, I already know it.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. No kidding. So when we get back to Caitlin, when you're asking the question about what does my beard smell like, I also buy a product from Whole Foods, and it's a handmade soap called Dirty Hippie.
Ah.
And so in the essence of, Prenger's like, it's affectionately known as beard druff. Yeah, that goes down on the black shirt. That's why, like, when you see like me wiping down, I'm not like, it's to make sure there's not any like
That could be crumbs too.
trailing parts.
Right, because that could be like, things that, you eat a sandwich and there's like, Heather's always saying, like, you got something in your beer. Like, oh, like, what is it?
You know what I love to do? Every morning, since we're talking about like part of the practices of how to
Yeah.
get through a day in your pandemic,
Yeah.
the thing I love to do is when I wake up to see if any food that was in my beard is in my bed.
So, so it does make it difficult eating barbecue with a beard, though. Like, I mean, it's like, especially like with a mustache. Like, you got to really like kind of pull things up and out of the way, and oh yeah, this is good stuff. All right, so
So that hey,
Midnight snack.
yeah, I love it. I
That's
love
what
it.
happens. Look, I got a whole sandwich in here.
Actually, in the first, hey Prenger, was it the first week or the first month that Pastor Ben was at Gloria Day, and he walked up and he's like, "Where's your chin?" And like totally in my space and stuck his hand in my beard.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, come on.
So this is the thing, right?
All right, we're talking personal space now.
Right, 'cause
yeah.
I mean, like, what you know out there, right, is like you don't walk up
The
and
first day, Prenger says that happened the first day, and I'm like, I mean, Prenger, I'll always take a hug from you, always now, because I know your heart and I know your big teddy bear. But I literally people who know me know like, yeah, I'm running away from you if you're coming at me. So anyway, personal space.
back to that. So when you're looking at, I mean, there's a thing, right, with women who have pregnant bellies. Some people like to go and touch like the woman's pregnant belly, and you're like, but oh, hold on, like this is still personal. Like it's the same thing with the beer. You don't just go, and I mean, especially we're talking about pandemic. You don't just take your dirty fingers and you put them in people's beards.
Take your dirty finger
Not-
and you put it in the beer.
Don't do
You
that.
take your dirty fingers and you put no. Oh my God. Oh, and you know what else is so rude? People, you'll be out
Yeah.
with. How about I put this into first person? I will be out
Yeah.
with my significant other. And when you have a situation, say you're singing lead in a band at the hall in Des Moines,
Yeah.
and you just get off of a 3-hour set, and everyone around you has been drinking for 3 hours,
Right.
and you have not.
Yeah.
And you get into the situation, and then you're walking up to greet your family and your friends. And some strange woman comes up and says to you, "Hey, that's a really cool beard. Do you mind if I touch it?"
So at least they're trying to search for consent, right? I mean, because there have been people who are just like, they just touch you. Like, don't do that.
Caitlin put that on there.
Oh.
Consent is key, baby.
See, that is
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Right.
see.
Consent is it. Like you, I mean, like you could ask and just feel free. Like I may also say no. And no always means no.
Always. Yeah. Quite frankly, if I had a burr under the saddle in my life,
Yeah.
it would be the people in my life who have heard me say no,
Yeah.
and they keep asking me 3 times the same question in a different variation or form.
Yeah.
And then I still tell them no to all 3 different ways that they have this question. And what they're really trying to do is say, this is what I really want to happen, and so until you say yes, I'm going to continue to ask you. But no means no. Heather asked, how do you respond?
To which one? Oh, to like the person who
I-
comes to your.
I think she's asking about, Michaela's like, wait, have you guys ever said yes to somebody asking to touch your beards? Weird. Yeah.
I mean, it depends. Like, if my wife wanted to touch my beard, sure.
Well, yeah, but she wouldn't ask you.
No.
Right.
She usually doesn't ask.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, hey, usually I look at the strange person, which is not a guy, by the way. Like, guys don't come up and say, hey, can I feel your beard?
They will compliment, though.
Oh,
That's like an area.
9
that's
times out
universal.
of 10, 9 times out of 10, any compliment on the beard is coming from a dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I'll just say, hey, I don't really know you. Can I introduce you to my wife, Amy? And so, I mean, it's not about like not being able to say no, but of course not. And certainly, hey, I've pretty much been locked away in isolation for, 14 to 15 months or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's probably been 13 months since we had shut down with the pandemic or whatever. I mean, like, and certainly for the last 7 to 8 months since I moved to Chicago, I mean, a very small circle of people that I'm ever around and stuff like that. So I haven't had the appeal for the fondling of the beard in quite some time.
Yeah. I mean, your beard is glorious. That's what I know.
Well, you know, when people ask me how long I've been growing my beard,
Yeah, that's weird.
what I let them know is I'm like, oh, I actually shaved it off for my grandmother's funeral.
I do remember that, actually.
Yeah, it was a practice of the Jews that in great mourning they would pull the hair of their beards out, and then I knew I was headed back to be with family, and family had remembered me without a beard. I mean, I'd had a beard off and on for the last 3 to 5 years or whatever, but
Yeah.
you know, it's just one of those things where I was like, you know, if I'm going to be having conversations and talking with people, I don't want the beard to be a distraction and stuff like that. But as I went in the day after the funeral, I stopped shaving, and I haven't shaved for ever since then.
Yeah,
So,
I cut mine off early in the pandemic. Late March, early April.
yeah,
Yeah, so it was right. Yeah, so I cut it all back. Not like clean shaven,
yeah,
but I cut it back to like a regular like face. Yeah.
yeah,
And then I haven't shaved since either. Well,
Yeah.
I shaved the sides. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah.
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 All right. So, what other questions you got though? Because we should probably switch topics.
Yeah, yeah.
because-
So we covered that one. Caitlin, if you don't feel like that covers it, we're at the bottom of the pile right now.
I feel like there's lots of questions that you'd want to ask us that you're holding back on. So, let's really open this up. I'm gonna let Steve take this real quick. I'm gonna step away for a
Yeah,
second.
got that. Yeah, got that. So, hey Prenger, there's got to be a question that you have on your mind, and you know, I mean, gosh, Michaela. What about a question? You guys got any questions for us that we can be able to answer? And what I would also love to hear from each of you is that Caitlin's like, I was expecting you to smell each other's beards on camera, but okay. Yeah, sorry, don't think that way. But one of the other things that we would love to hear your feedback here is, like, are there some topics that you would love for us to handle? When we were putting out there and asking the question of, hey, what's your favorite episode or what's your favorite topic? We'd just love more feedback on on what's going on at Cut Daisies and Unicorns. And so if there's some things that we've hit on that have struck home and you're like, oh man, I really like that, in this live setting, that's what our appeal, because there can be some, oh, Chris Fordyce is in, hey, you beardos.
Hey, Chris, we just mentioned you before earlier in the show. Just so you
Yeah.
know, you weren't left out.
Yeah. Hey, and there's some good things coming in too. Nick Prenger says, honestly, I'm struggling with being a new dad and trying to figure out this season. And so, hey, and then Chris Fordyce says hello. And you guys are commenting it fast enough that for everything going on. Michaela, people love to hear stories of others and how they can relate to it or learn from it. Is that too wide of a topic? LOL. The answer to that is a capital L, capital O, capital L. Yes. I mean, so what you're saying, Michaela, is you really like the interview style when it comes to this.
And you like to learn from people.
Caitlin's like,
we'd love to
yeah,
learn
talk
too."
about parenting. Caitlin, is there news that you have to share with us?
Yeah, what does that mean? Hold up, Caitlin.
Oh, and Shanda's on too. And so, no, great, Fordyces. We're glad you're here. So we're just going over, we're looking for some feedback on how things were going of what you have listened to. Obviously, Chris is like, I like weird stuff. I like weird stuff and life stuff. Okay. No, she's saying, Michaela's like, no, she's saying we have great parents. All right, psych. All right, well, I mean, Grandpa Phil was wondering if he's going to be grandpa again. So, oh, man. No, that's not happening. And one of the things, and actually Chris and I were texting back and forth about this. I had so much fun with the Fringe episode.
Yeah.
And to be quite frank, I haven't been doing my research, so I'm a little empty on the Fringe, except I do have I really do have, well, I saw Godzilla versus King Kong,
Yeah.
or King Kong versus Godzilla. I don't know how it's billed, but I saw that, and so they bring up this Hollow Earth
Yeah.
idea.
Which you mentioned, which I have to look into. But
So where if you want to know my tangent right now is going to be Hollow Earth, Flat Earth, Round Earth, and get rid of my girth. My COVID-19 belly has just got to get out of here. I'm telling you, it's time. It's time for it to go. So if I get
I didn't know where you were going with it. John didn't either.
No, I know. You guys are dirty boys. Oh, and Chris says he loved the James and Clem show.
Yeah.
Or episodes. Yeah. So what we do know is people are really interested in the stories of other people.
Yeah.
And we have a good time with that.
And we're going to continue to bring on different people.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's a given.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the premise of the whole thing is like two guys flying through the universe, telling stories, and I think part of telling stories is bringing people on who have stories to tell that are going to be different from ours.
Well, you know how you told my mom she's your favorite Koval?
Sorry, Michaela. I do like Michaela too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. The one of the things that she leads with a lot is that everybody's got a story. And I think it was in that I've heard her say everyone's got a story for 5 to 7 years. Like in about, I don't know, like if I am spending a significant amount of time with my mom, like whether it's a day or an afternoon or, whatever, she just is, when she's recounting with what's going on, she'll just come back to, when I'm talking to this person, it's their, they got a story. And it was Clem that the words of my mom going through my head about everybody's got a story, but as she was talking through her story,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you can't make this up. This is individual. It's like Snowflake and it's like Fingerprint. And I don't mean Snowflake in the derogatory term.
No. You
I
mean
mean,
like Snowflake, everything's different. Everything's unique unicorn.
Unique up on them. And you goose them like a ghost.
Hashtag unique unicorn.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get that to catch on.
Yeah. All right, John, I'm going to have you put Phil on. I'm going to step away. We are at right at about an hour and 15. And to be honest with you, the first 20 minutes to 30 minutes was us.
Trying to get things together.
Yeah. And so we're going to continue this conversation. There's lots of good things coming in.
Yeah.
We really are enjoying this. Now, here's the next question to ask.
Right.
I can't wait for you to find out from everyone while I take a break to go to the bathroom.
He's taking a break.
But so here's the thing. How do you like live versus listen to the podcast, or is the answer yes and?
Yeah, so that's a good question. That's where we're going to go to right now. So I know there's other questions here that we're going to get to when Steve gets back. But how are you listening to the podcast? Are you listening to audio? Are you watching the YouTube channel? Are you doing both? So that's a question for you. I'll answer it while I'm waiting for your responses as well. So I listen to the podcast, even though every podcast that I do, I still listen to. But it Steve too. So twice. So not only are we listening to it when we're editing, so that's one. But we're also, Steve's watching it as he does a lot of the edits for the videos. So he's watching it already, even before we post it, even before everything goes out, we're already listening to it and watching it before it gets there. And, but I also, once it's launched, I have subscribed to it on YouTube, and I've also subscribed to it on my Apple Podcast. So it comes up every single time that we post. It says, hey, here's a new podcast. And so I'll listen to it when I'm at the gym. And so I listen to it there. I can't watch it there because I don't do well trying to work out and trying to watch something. I'm just not that way. I have to listen to something. That's it. So how is it that you are watching or listening? Let's see. Anybody? We got Apple Podcast. Oh, we got a yes, and yes. Heather, yeah, I realize that Heather listens or watches most of the time. The live is fun. Yep, live is fun. Chris says, "Close the door, Steve." They were trying. They could hear me? No, they couldn't, but he was making sure just in case. Okay. All right, because we're constantly trying to be able to work on how and when we're going to put things out. So currently, as you know, we do a Tuesday trailer, which is short, somewhere between 5 and I think our longest trailer was like 20, which was our beginning one, but usually it's no longer than 10. And that's on Tuesdays, and we release it at night, 7 o'clock, 7:30, and then on Thursdays we release our full episodes. So whether it's an interview or whether it's a Phil and Steve edition, where we just sit at the table and we talk. We talk about a wide variety of things. What I noticed is, and this is what I've gotten some feedback from, is that, as Steve identified in one of the episodes, whether it was 10, I think it might have been around there, that he was saying, or people were giving feedback that it kind of was like SNL, like the Sweaty Balls skit, where it was kind of like NPR-ish. Well, Steve has tried to be able to mix that up now. And so we're changing that. And I think that episode 10 really gave us a glimpse of something that we're trying to continue to make better. So we're really interacting as we normally would any other time. We're just talking about stuff and giving our feedback. So we would be happy to be able to hear any of that feedback as well. So yeah, let me see. So Steve had an NPR voice and Phil sounded like Kermit the Frog. I don't know, like, I really sound like Kermit the Frog? Come on, I mean, that's coming from my wife, too. John disagrees with you, Heather. That's what I know. He's right there, and he's saying no Kermit the Frog. Like which Kermit the Frog? Like, cause I like the song, the rain.
Wait. I hear it now.
Oh, what do you got?
Kermit the Frog.
Oh, you heard Kermit the Frog from me? I don't know. Yeah. So, all right. So we're getting some feedback. Feel free though. Make sure, like if you're watching the YouTube or you're watching or you're listening to the podcast itself, the audio, like feel free, like drop us some comments. If you're like, we'd really love to see John a lot more, like say that. It's okay. It's okay to be say, hey, we need some more John. Like he's here. And what I tell you is like he's doing a great job behind the camera. He's learning all this stuff about the audio and the video, and John's a great guy to be able to have behind there. So Michaela, you think I sound like Kermit the Frog too? What the?
Really?
Steve, do I sound like Kermit the Frog?
I don't think so.
John
does.
Now I'm gonna be a little bit. I don't know. Now you got me all like in my head. Like I'm gonna make sure. Like there's so many songs about rainbows, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
That sounded like Kermit, kinda.
Well, that was kind of meant to because it's Kermit's song.
Yeah.
All right, Steve's on his way back up, and then we've got some questions to answer.
All right.
All right. So no NPR and no Kermit apparently.
Yeah. The point about John is that we were going to put a microphone on John tonight,
We were,
But we didn't-
He didn't even know.
but we didn't prep him on it. And the way the whole setup was going took us to a place that did not allow that to happen. And so, hey, and by the way, if you want a little, like, hey, how can we make this go smoothly?
Mm-hmm.
Don't plug the mic jack into the headphone jack and wonder why you can't get sound.
It's true.
That happened.
That did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened. All right. So we got some here. Let's. We got to go back a little bit, everybody,
Yeah.
because there were some questions.
I want to go to Pranger's thing on the best piece of advice you would give a 30-something
There you
year old right now.
That
And
was
so,
one I remember.
So I'm going to start at the top of the list with that. And
Is this water for me, Steve?
oh yeah,
Thanks.
here to be able to make sure we get H2O. All right, so Pranger, just the other day, like a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
Micah came up to me and he said, "Hey Dad, you were right."
Ooh.
He's like, "You told me." And then when I started into my 20s, these were going to be some of the hardest years of my life. And he goes, "And what you said was true." Now, what I don't know about is if the 30s are the new 20s. So I'm telling you, dude, with starting your family, with having a child, and everything going on, you are on the ride of your life right now. What I will tell you, being 54, is with being that far removed from my 30s, if I started telling stories about my 30s,
Mm-hmm.
it was not an easy path. And that was, I mean, things weren't all roses and sunshine. But some of the best things I invested in people, happened in my 30s. And I speak affectionately about my children. And so with Michaela and Micah and how they have become adults and are becoming adults into their mid-20s, you know, when I look back at the focus and the effort and with what was going on, I don't regret any time that I poured into, spent time with, invested in my children. Now, I will tell you a key to parenting that I found to be a pretty consistent bit of advice. And the reality is, don't get caught up looking at how other people are raising their kids. Don't get caught up on what their rules are, what their boundaries are, or how they're doing it. The reality is, your child needs you and your wife to be together on the same plane, and all they need is consistency. So, one day, if sugar's off limits, and you have agreed that sugar is off limits, let it always be off limits. And if there are grandparents that don't see your view on that, then you got to take a health stand and say, hey, sugar's off limits for the kids. This is going to affect how much you will see your grandchild if you're going to not pay attention to our personal boundaries. We need to create consistency. Consistent boundaries allow for a child to be able to feel secure. That's what I found. All I had to do, and Micah came up to me, I don't know, he was 10 or 11, and he's like, hey, Dad, can I ask you a question? I'm like, hey, can we lay a foundation here? You can ask me any question you want to ask me anytime, but what I'm asking for you to understand is I reserve the right to say no. So ask any question you want, but just know that if I say no, let's go back to consent. I'm saying no, and I mean no. And you don't get to come back to me and say, but Mom said I could. If I said no, done deal. Micah, that will be consistent. And so just consistency, wherever, and if you and your wife don't agree on what the boundary should be at, then you meet in the middle and then you create that boundary together for the sake of consistency. And in that security, your child will begin to respond. Now, also understand there's different phases in a child's growth and development. What they need to do is challenge your boundaries. You don't punish a child for challenging your boundaries. You take them through the opportunity for growth to come to the new level of understanding why you've reasoned for that boundary to exist. And then you play the card. Hey, as long as I'm paying for your insurance, as long as you're living under my roof, if I'm feeding you the food that I bought at the grocery store, if I'm putting gas in your gas tank, if I'm paying for your cell bill, if I'm keeping the heat on, I have the right to create the boundaries. When you get to the place you can take care of all those things, you get to make your own boundaries. But along the way, we're going to learn about what are healthy boundaries and how can you create them for yourself. That will be the mark of parenting well. The goal isn't to have the child turn out perfect, because the child's human. The child will make mistakes all along the way with all the different stages and phases. What you need to do is to be able to also come into a place where you're saying, even if you do mess up, I'm here and I love you. And you want to have a child to be able to take risks in their own personal development, that you give them permission to try and to fail and to walk through them with the emotional quotient that will allow them to navigate from failure. I can rise up and I can try again. So that's what I have to say to a 30-year-old.
So I'm thinking clarification. That's a 30-year-old with kids.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Henry.
if you're a 30-year-old without kids, then that wouldn't have made sense.
Henry.
Yeah. So what I would look at, I mean, if we're talking about the parenting route, I think that we have to make room for and allow kids to fail, to do things without being able to say, I'm going to rescue you every single time so that you don't feel pain or you don't like. Sometimes we have to say, you're going to live life. And guess what? Living life means that we're going to encounter things that are messy, that are not always fun. And you know what? It's going to be okay. Because we're all going to, I mean, we've learned that, right, Steve? Like, throughout your life, you've made decisions. You're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have made that decision.
Yeah.
And what would it be if we're saying to our children, like, yeah, I'm not going to allow you to make any decisions that are, like, what's that? That means they're not going to make any decisions. And so sometimes we have to be able to say, let's give you freedom to be able to even make decisions that might be harmful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe like, and this is maybe later on when the kids get a little bit older, but.
Well, yeah, it's that part of figuring out the stage. I mean, you're not going to let a 3-year-old invest in the stock market. I mean, doesn't matter how much money Grandpa and Grandma gave them. I mean, they don't have the capacity. I mean, let's take the ridiculous out of this. You know, there was a time in Micah's life that I'm like, hey, dude, by the way, I don't have deep pockets, so you're going to learn to self-insure. And he looked at me with this look in his eyes like, self-insure? I'm like, well, you understand what insurance companies do, right? And he's like, no, not really. And I'm like, well, we pay fees, and then if something goes wrong, they pay out. I'm telling you, if you get into trouble and you land in jail, I'm not bailing you out. Mm-hmm. So you need to self-insure. I'm saying you should have money tucked away somewhere that if you had to post bail, that you could.
You're going to post it.
Yeah, because I'm not going to post it, and I'm not putting anything up that I own for the bail bondsman so that you can get out. What I'm saying is if you land in jail because of a stupid decision that you've made, right, you're going to spend time in jail. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that conversation with an 8-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
He was probably 17.
Right.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, you know, those things.
That's the progress. Yeah, my friend Tony's on here. I still owe Tony a 12-pack, right, Tony?
Michaela, this is funny. My Aunt Linda's like, Steve, give us your best Barry White voice. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not really sure if I got a Barry White voice, but I know that I can just go ahead
drop
and
it down and on, dude.
Yeah. And be like, you know, there's some things that we need to talk
Girl.
about.
you know those times.
It makes me think of what are the two musicians?
Hey Tony, when are you gonna come to Chicago? You can collect.
Nick, Chris, advice for a 30-something with kids: it's okay to have a messy house. Making memories is hard work. And Jeff joined us. Awesome, great. Along with what Chris says.
He loves the essence of Steve.
Yeah.
I think that's what
realize our friends are the ones that we
him.
don't have to feel worried about a messy house or something silly a kid may say. Oh, yeah.
Tony, you don't drink beer anymore, so maybe it's a whiskey? What do you think? Bourbon? Steve and I just took a trip. We got some good bourbon. Well, it's not bourbon, it's whiskey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry. Correction. All right, what other questions are we missing? Did you?
Well, I'm just I'm looking, this is great because in the community of all the people who are gathered together, I mean, people are like talking and sharing with one another and, and
that's actually the best way.
It's fantastic. And actually that's the great part of this platform, to be able to pull everybody together. And I know that relationally, we're all invested in each other, and it's good that we can be able to share, but also in the cross sharing with what's going on. Phil, how about, like, with your experience concerning boundaries? I mean, like, are there any tools out there that you would, like, shout out about?
Well,
And how to create boundaries, and
so there's
how to develop?
Yeah, so there's a great resource if you don't know it. Dr. Henry Cloud has a book called Boundaries, and it's on my desk, and I try to go back to it. But it's if you don't know, like, you can even Google this right now, talking about boundaries. He has online resources for
Affiliate marketing.
yeah, for those trying to be able to work out boundaries, whether it's and boundaries are something that you can look at across the board, and you're looking at work boundaries, home boundaries, like all kinds of. You can talk about what is a good boundary for people to have in relationship. And so if you haven't checked that out already, you should really go and just type in boundaries, and you'll see Dr. Henry Cloud.
Yeah, and Henry Cloud, and then there's another gentleman. Is it Townsend?
Yeah, Townsend.
Yeah, Townsend. So these guys
they
are,
group together.
and they've been in counseling for, I would say, over 30 years, and have written books, and it's a franchise, meaning that there are also specific topics, not only boundaries for yourself personally, but there's boundaries in marriage as a book, and some different things like that. It can get heady to read through and stuff. But I think when ultimately it is spending time in conversation with your spouse, and coming to a mutual understanding of what you're going to decide that you want to have happen. For instance, if you decide that bedtime's 7 p.m., cool, stick to it, no matter what it takes. And Nick, I read through the comments, and you're saying you're having a terrible time with this child going to sleep. And we don't have the answers. And by the way, whiskey in the bottle is not, that's not good advice. So I won't tell you to put whiskey in the child's bottle.
That would have been 1970s parenting.
Actually,
sorry, I don't know if I just offended anybody.
No. Why I say it is because my mom will tell a story about, and I'm not sure, Mom, if it was that I was sick, running a fever, or was colicky, but that a little bit of whiskey seemed to take care of my ills. But I mean, you can't say bedtime's at 7 o'clock and you only hit it 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. It's like, or let's say bedtime's 8 o'clock or bedtime's 9 o'clock. You can't do that and be like, no, this is the deal. It's for your health and for your best interest. And so then 3 out of 7 nights, you're sticking with the rule. But then the child's like, well, how come you let me stay up until 9 p.m.? There's consistency. I think that even the cleaning your plate thing that happened in the 70s and 80s, there's even a greater question now, because now we have more science.
Right.
And so, like, the things that make babies' bellies, like, you think about formula. And so we knew that there was a formula that had lactose in it, and then there's the non-lactose formula. And why did we figure this out? Well, we figured it out because the baby's body wasn't responding to that. My mom says, very sick, running a fever. Thank you, Aunt Donna. Yes, it was whiskey in Steve-O's bottle as a child running a very high fever. But, so you just take it, and ultimately you don't have to figure out how they're going to graduate college right now.
Yeah.
What you have to do is you have to move into taking it one day at a time. And you have to, the energy, here's the thing about kids. they take a lot of energy out of you, but you have to give the energy in the relationship with your spouse or significant other that you're having a child with. And in that, move into, instead of it being about a marriage union or a marriage contract, instead of it being about a marriage covenant, think about it as a partnership. That your co-equals come together to partner together for the best interest, not only of each other, but for the best interest of the child. And so with that, consistently, just because broccoli is good for the human body doesn't mean a child's going to be able to eat it.
Right.
So don't get on your high horse thinking you're not getting away from the table until you eat broccoli. There was a situation at my grandma's house when scalloped potatoes was being served. My daughter loves scalloped potatoes. Me, I didn't like the texture. I didn't like how it smelled. I ate it, and then I threw it up on the plate. Oof. You know, there's a price to pay. Sometimes you got to figure out, and that is a new skill set, figuring out which mountain you're gonna die on. So
Yeah, I remember my daughter. So Caitlin was terrible trying to go to sleep. And I think that it must have been genetic, because what I hear is that Heather also had a really hard time going to sleep. She never wanted to miss out on any of the action that was happening. And even though kids believe that there's somehow some magical things that continue in the night that they're missing out on, like, you're not really missing anything. Like, we're sitting here, we're going to watch Jimmy Fallon, or
Right.
whatever.
right.
And so that's the thing. But my daughter never would go to sleep. She would always, even though we'd sit with her, we would have to fall asleep with her in there after reading stories and for her to stay in her bed. And so there really is no answer. I mean, this is going to have to be, you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to say, sometimes you're going to say, stay in there until you cry yourself to sleep. Then I don't know. I mean, and that's a painful part too with babies. Like you're going to cry yourself to sleep, and that no parent really loves or enjoys hey, you're going to cry yourself to sleep. And sometimes you're just like, that's what's going to have to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, hey, we're rounding the corner, and
Right.
I'd like to finish the night out with my one question.
Okay.
All right.
What is it?
I'd like for although we got a lot of people hanging out here. I mean, we got 15 or 16 people hanging out. That's a crowd right now.
It's a crowd.
Whoa. So here's my question. I'd love to see this comment section fill up with what's the favorite saying or mantra that you came across within the last 7 days. Can't be your favorite. We already know Cobal's favorite. Seek to understand before being understood.
It's repeated multiple times
Throughout,
right?
Yeah. I mean, and it has governed me well, and it took me until 2003 to even be able to hear about that. But what is your favorite mantra or saying? It could have been something that someone said around you. It could have been something that you read. And I only have one other point after that, and then I'm done for the night. All right? But I will lead.
Okay.
My favorite saying that I heard in this last week is that when I was exiting the Robarge home, and I said, Heather, get ready for the Phil and Steve circus, because it's coming at you. And we are always nice to the elephants.
Which is true.
We're nice to all the animals.
We tend to be nice to the animals.
We embrace the unicorns. We're here to cut daisies. Heather, love you, but God, peace out. I got to peace out.
Oh, she's got Bible study.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Really?
9 o'clock or something, I think, is usually when she has, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, goodbye, Heather. All right. So what's your favorite saying
else?
or mantra?
Tony said, "Nobody cares. Work harder." It could be. So people are thinking, I think.
All right.
So favorite, I'm trying to think of mine. Favorite mantra or saying. Like I feel like there's the ones that happen naturally, like it is what it is. Like what do you feel like about when somebody says that statement? It is what it is.
You want to know my
Yeah, I'm
like
just
the
trying-
first thing that comes to my mind is
Yeah.
that's a saying of indifference. And you know what the opposite of love is? It's not hate. It's indifference.
Yeah.
That's a direct quote from Julie Dittmer says, "You're killing me, Smalls." Didn't that come from the movie The Sandlot?
It is the Sandlot.
Yeah, right? Nice.
So you just heard that one. So Foxy. That's what I call Julie. She's Foxy.
Oh,
Yeah. So that you just heard that this week? Did you just watch Sandlot?
one of my favorites, Caitlin's. My Aunt Linda. You don't know what you don't know. You know what, Aunt Linda? I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that saying.
I think I said that on the podcast too.
Well, yeah, and it's one of actually it's our appeal for people to start tearing down the walls and stop being a-holes.
Yeah, because if you don't know what you don't know, then it's time to learn what you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. Exactly. And so if we're two guys flying through the universe collecting stories and telling stories and I mean, at least making some things available. Dittmer's like, it just plays over and over in my head.
Caitlin said this is only temporary, or I think another way to say that is like this too shall pass,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it's only here for a moment. This is temporary. It's going to pass. It's going to go away.
Hey, Chris Fordyce, I know you've got like a lot of Fordyce isms. The reality is you're an empath. And so what you pick up and what you lay down is definitely influenced by what you're feeling of those around you.
Steve, you're an empath too, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you? No?
I can be tunnel visioned.
No.
In the transformation of me into mysticism, I went from goal-oriented, and I think part of the shadow self that I carry with me is a tendency to look at a project or a goal and then get really tunnel visioned. And so I don't know that I always pick up on the cues of everything that's going around. I can get lost too in my head and be so like caught up in with what's going on that I become unaware of like the others. Fordyce is acutely aware and can feel what's going on individually with multiple people in the same room. I mean, like I've seen it happen, and I've had him walk up to me and be like, "Hey, dude," pulls me aside, walks with me for a little bit, and he tells me more about myself than I knew at the moment.
So he knows what's going on.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like, and this may be a good opportunity to tell him since he's on here, like Fordyce might be a good person to have on the podcast because he can talk to us about the one aspect of time travel that we didn't get into that we talked about, like, is the whole like Doctor Who thing. Neither one of us are really like Doctor Whoians, and so we don't really know much, but we know that he is, and he's got all kinds of fringe stuff. And now you throw in he's an empath, so
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I mean, all of these people who are been hanging out with us be great interviews. I'm also bad at Thursdays. I've never gotten the hang of Thursdays.
what?
Fordyce. You're bad at Thursdays? Friday Eve? How the hell can you be bad at Friday Eve? It's like Friday Eve. Can I get a woot woot, Michaela? Michaela's like, life is not about you.
Oh man, that's a good lesson.
Is it?
It is life about you.
Come on, let's dive into our narcissistic selves. All of humanity. Woot freaking woot. It's a talent. Yeah. You know what I love about this is the first thing that came to my mind, Chris, when you said it's a talent, is I was thinking about it being it is the threads in the hem of what you've been cut from, and knowing how your mom is a seamstress. I just think that that's the picture of you in all of this. That, and you know what? If I don't even know if Prenger's still on, but ultimately, we have to pursue becoming the people that we were made to become. And I think that that's one of the things that I really appreciate, is that, I mean, you know how I know that stuff about Chris? He's willing to be transparent and share and be able to say, to reveal. It's kind of like my angel story. I really didn't want to tell my angel story tonight, but I did. And I don't think that we got it on the hard drive, so it's not going to be in the. Although this is all being recorded on Facebook, so people will be able to grab it too. But
You can go and watch it later.
man, I just, and again, if you have a partner in life, those are conversations to have.
Yeah.
Hey, what threads do you see coming out in me? What things do you see rising to the top? The good, bad, the ugly. It's really okay. It's where blind spots end up. Tony's like, I love the question. Why are you building that Ebenezer? Here I raised my Ebenezer, hither to thy throne I come. That's for you, Tony. I don't even know you, but I love that you brought up the word Ebenezer.
Right. So Tony's a pastor now down in Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, right on.
Got the Lone Star State in the house.
How'd that freeze out go for you?
Let's see.
All right, so I got one more thing to share. We ask people for their favorite sayings and stuff like that. I have
Right.
one more thing. This
Okay.
is affiliate marketing.
All right.
Tony, dude, we need to party together.
We do.
I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that enablement has occurred multiple times to much of my dismay. But the one thing that I want to share with you is that, again, the lovely Mrs. Amy, she surprised me the day after the book release. The book showed up, Brandy Carlisle's book, Broken Horses.
I haven't read it, but I'd like to.
Well, I have it.
Do you?
She got it for me with a lovely little note in the morning when I woke up. It was like, here, I saw this come across my news feed and I ordered it. And So I'm going on the trip to North Carolina on Thursday. I'm going to have it for my trip out, my trip back, and stuff like that. And so you can read it after. But if affiliate marketing, we're going to put a link in there to Brandy Carlisle's Broken Horses. I literally read the intro and started weeping, and then the first chapter, and Elton John has a referral for it, and a couple other people. Oh my gosh, what a read. I'm looking forward, and we can talk about this later. Maybe we should just send her a note and see if she'll talk to us.
Oh man, just here's go. She was on Stephen Colbert.
Okay.
Just punch in Google Brandy Carlisle and Stephen Colbert.
Yeah. That interview.
That interview. She talks about, because she has some faith questions and topics in there, and
she's a woman of faith.
She's a woman of faith.
She is a woman of faith. Whether people of faith will accept her as a woman of faith,
that's where I'm getting at.
yeah. I mean, that's amazing. Amy and I got to see Brandy Carlisle at Hinterland, not last summer during the pandemic, but the summer before, or the fall before.
Right.
And what a show. Oh my gosh. And yeah, so long story short, the other person that I'd really like to interview on the podcast, and we're just throwing this. Oh, and by the way, for people who wonder, if you have a question, you're like, what do you guys do to get your guests on the podcast? I send emails. I've sent an email to Richard Rohr, and then found out that Richard Rohr wasn't taking any more speaking engagements or interactions with podcasts and stuff like that. Although he does. Science Mike reached out to Science Mike of the ex-liturgists, Science Mike, and his publicist, sent an email back, and she was really cool, because I had sent the email through my Earthen Warehouse, and she even responded back to Cut Daisies and Unicorns Gmail account, and he's just not able to make it. But for those of you who have the opportunity to catch on demand, Bering Sea Gold, Chris Kelly. I want to get Chris Kelly on here. This dude is a firecracker. He's like dynamite with the blowing cap. And I wouldn't give you 2 cents for him in the first seasons and stuff like that. But what he's evolving into, I just want this dude to just be blowing off the doors and just talking to us about that. So I'm going to start doing the research and figuring out about that, and see if I can get Chris Kelly to talk to us from the Bering Sea.
So as we've talked about a couple of episodes, we've also tried to reach out to the Birds Aren't Real people.
Yeah.
Because I'm fascinated by the story and the history they even put on there. So after even I've watched things on Netflix talking about how the United States is surveillancing us. So we've tried to reach out to them. So we're trying to be able to put together a wide variety of people. And again, I'm going to put that out to whoever's here. You want to reach out to some of these people and say, hey, we really think that there's a podcast. We want you to get your story out. We would love to be able to introduce that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm actually in some of the articles or documentaries and stuff like that. I'm just taking down different people and just seeing if somebody will talk to us.
We'd love to talk to people.
Yeah. Well,
so what was that? What were you putting? Did you put something out to people?
Out to what people?
Like that, because you said there was the first one phrase, and what was the second one?
Brandy Carlisle.
And
the book.
And the book.
It was her book.
Okay.
I just wanted to tell people about her book.
Oh, you wanted to tell me. Okay.
I want people to buy her book on Amazon through our affiliate marketing.
Right. So you're going to click on the link.
Yeah. Which we don't have here right now in this.
Yeah.
But this is all part of the development. Hey, and one thing that we haven't talked about in the last 3 minutes, because we're going to close down at 9 o'clock.
We are.
We are. We need to.
It's a guarantee.
I mean, it's a work night. I mean, like other people would be going to work.
Right.
I mean, maybe.
You got to get up and I got to get up, take my son to school.
My alarm goes off at 5 a.m. because I'm dropping Amy off at the airport. Yeah. So, and it's not wine. It's just the reality.
It is.
Yeah. It's no big deal. I mean, like if I'm tired, I'll take a nap. I got time tomorrow to do that, and about 4 videos to edit, and then this thing to turn around. But who's keeping track of all the projects?
So many things.
But the other thing that we wanted you to do is to know that where we're coming from is we're coming from the basement at Tabor Church in Albany Park.
Chicago.
Someone will need to pee soon. Chris Fordyce. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Chris, you can pee if you need to.
Yeah. And I really am looking forward to, as I edit this, to hearing myself pee. So I have a different kind of time travel. I'm going to be able to go back in the past to be able to hear what was going on in the present.
We didn't mic him up when he went.
But I do know from now on that I'm going to the one down the hallway, not the one around the corner. All right. So the final thing that I will say is, I had a thought. I lost the thought.
Like and subscribe? I don't know.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. We were talking. Anyway.
John, what were we talking about?
John's so ready to be gone. All right, everybody.
John's falling asleep. No.
So, here's where we're at. Where we are currently right now is in the basement of Tabor Church.
Right.
And in the basement of Tabor Church, we're going to develop this space into a listening room. So what's going to come in the future is we're actually looking to develop a live music listening room in Albany Park.
Right.
And so we don't want the answers right now. We want you to think about it. So Tabor Church is on the corner of Sunnyside and Drake, seated in Albany Park in Chicago, Illinois.
Right.
So we're trying to figure out the name for the listening room.
Mm.
And we would love for you guys to be able to do that and be a part of what's going on and help us out with that. And we're also looking forward to, in the future, being able to have some artists on. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the quick switch and all this stuff, and so that we can be able to broadcast. But just know that we're going to be doing the listening room, and we're going to be doing live events and being able to do that together. And it's coming from here. So the progress that's been made. The next time you see an interview or a Phil and Steve edition, it will be coming from our newly transformed space.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have brand new studio space, not just
do.
here, but we have our standard regular space. It's bright and cheery.
It is. It's not going to be quite as dark. It won't be black. It'll be white.
Yeah, it's going to be white, and we're going to mess around with the lights and all that stuff. So, hey, you guys were super great to be able to have here, and
Thanks for sticking around.
just me personally, I think this is something we want to do. Whether it's every month or every 6 to 8 weeks, we'll do a live event.
We do.
But we want to be and let you know that we're committed to good quality material and snarky advice.
Yeah, I like the word snarky. I don't know, it sounds fun. You can just say that over and over again. Snarky. It's fun.
Baby snark.
No baby snark.
All right, everybody, we're saying goodnight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you being here and hanging out. Family, great love. Friends, we look forward to the conversation. And if you see these people on the comment section, go ahead and friend them, send a request, and continue the conversation, because community is where we grow stronger together. Take care.
Take care, everybody.